Hello my scholars, welcome to my school channel. My name is Alexandra, and in this video we're going to be talking about consonant sounds. We'll look at the classification of consonant sounds, and then we'll explore 6 out of the 24 consonant sounds we have in the English language. Okay, so we'll take a look at letters of the English alphabet that can possibly represent the sound. We'll take a look at examples of words that have the sound, and so many other things will be unpacked in this video lesson. So please stay with us, don't go anywhere, and we'll be right back. Welcome back to my school channel. Do not forget today's topic is consonant sounds, okay? And these are the objectives for today's lesson. So there's a lot to do today. We'll learn how consonant sounds are produced. We'll learn the classification of consonant sounds. Then we'll focus on these 6 consonant sounds. Then we'll learn how to describe these sounds. We'll learn the letters of the English alphabet that can possibly represent each sound. Then we'll list examples of words that have each vowel sounds. We'll transcribe these words. And lastly, we'll take a look at the pronunciation of ed past tense marker in English language. Okay? So let's start with the first objective, which is how consonant sounds are produced. Now, do not forget that we have 24 consonant sounds. There are 24 consonant sounds in the English language. However, we have 21 letters of the English alphabet. So phoneticians have derived 24 consonant sounds from the 21 letters of the English alphabet. And here they are, 24 in number. Okay, so how do we produce consonant sounds? Consonant sounds are produced with the obstruction of air from the lung. So when the lung produces the air and it gets to this region, the mouth region, there's a blockage of the air, there's an obstruction of the air, okay? Whether it's a total obstruction or a complete obstruction, there's a form of obstruction when the air gets to this region. Take for example, this first sound, p, p. You can feel that your lips are blocking the air, the escape of air initially. So it's blocking the air and there's an outburst of the air eventually, right? Okay, so there's a blockage of air, and in this case we'll describe it as a total blockage of air. So whether it's a partial blockage or a total blockage, there is always a blockage in the production of consonant sounds. So don't forget there are 24 consonant sounds. So how do we describe consonant sounds? Consonant sounds are sounds that are produced with either a partial or a total obstruction of the airstream from the lungs. So we are good to go with how to produce consonant sound, or how consonant sounds are produced, and how to define consonant sound. Now let's take a look at the next objective, which is the classification of consonant sounds. Now, consonant sounds are classified into 3 parts. We have the state of the glottis, the manner of articulation, and the place of articulation. So consonants are classified into 3. The state of the glottis, the manner of articulation, which means how the sounds are produced. The place of articulation is where in this region is the production made. Okay, state of the glottis is something we are familiar with. If you've been following my video, you are familiar with the state of the glottis, but we'll explain that again. Okay, so let's start with the first classification. So we're going to look at the voiced and voiceless. The voiced and voiceless is under the state of the glottis, the voiced and the voiceless. So we can have these stages in the state of the glottis. Now, what happens to consonant sounds that are voiced? Now, when the lungs produces this air, it goes to the larynx, and in the larynx, within the larynx, we have the vocal folds of what we call vocal cords. Okay, let's take a look at the next slide for a better understanding of what I'm saying. So when the air gets here, this is the larynx, we can see the vocal folds. Within the vocal folds, we have the glottis. Now, it is the state of the glottis that determines if the sound is voiced or voiceless. Now, consonant sounds can either be voiced or voiceless. So some sounds are voiced, whilst others are voiceless. But unlike the vowel sounds, all vowel sounds are voiced. Okay, so when the air gets here, it passes through the vocal folds, but the brain registers the fact that, okay, this sound should be voiced. And because the brain controls every part of our body, every organ of our body, okay, the vocal folds is compressed, and then air forces its way through. And because of that force, the glottis vibrates, okay, and so the sound becomes voiced. However, we have consonant sounds that are voiceless. And what happens when we produce that sound here in the state of the glottis? Okay, so the air comes here and the vocal folds widens, okay? It gives way, it widens, and because it widens, there is no force, there is no pressure, and air can freely flow through that passage, right? So there the sound produced are voiceless. So we have voiced sound and voiceless sound. For example, p, it is a voiceless sound, p, but b, as in boy, b, you can feel vibration when you touch this part of your body, b, compared to p, p, as in pot, against b, as in boy. You can feel the difference when you produce the sounds, and you can feel there's a vibration here and absence of vibration in the other sound, okay? So you can try that. Let's move to the next classification, which is the manner of articulation. The manner means how are these sounds produced. Now let's take a look at the manner of articulation we have. We have plosive, which are 6. You can see them. We have fricative, which is 9. We have affricate, 2. Liquid, 2 in number. Semi-vowel, 2 in number. Nasal, 3 in number. Okay, so let's start with the plosive. What do we mean by plosive? Plosive sounds are sounds that are produced with a complete blockage, and there's an outburst of the air. So the word was gotten from explosion, plosion, okay? It's a complete stoppage, a complete blockage first, and then there's an outburst of the air. Okay? So that is plosive sound. The vocabulary might look scary, but they are just very simple to understand. Fricative, what do we mean by fricative? Fricative, the closure or the blockage is not complete. Okay, so there's a little passage, there's a little opening, and then the air escapes through that little opening. Okay, so the blockage is not complete, it's not total. There's a tiny passage where the air escapes, as in s. So it gives this fricative sound, friction, s, z, okay, and so on and so forth. Okay, so the next is affricate. Now, affricate, there's a complete closure of air. There's a complete stoppage, rather. There's a complete stoppage, complete blockage of the air, and then it gradually opens. Okay, that's the difference between affricate and fricative. Fricative, the blockage is not complete. There's just a small opening from the start. But for affricate, there's a complete blockage from the start, and then as you produce the sound or you release the air, the passage opens gradually, and then we have ch, g. Okay? The next is liquid. Now, these sounds are called liquid because air escapes through the side of your mouth. And what happens to your tongue? Your tongue is curved. It's called a convex curved position. Okay, it is curved. The tongue is curved as it touches your alveolar. Okay, it touches your alveolar and it is curved, and then air has to escape because there's a blockage in the front of your mouth, but this side is open, and so air has to escape from the side of your mouth, and you have okay. The tongue curving in your mouth is blocking the air passage from coming straight from your mouth, and so it has to escape from the side of your mouth. Now, semi-vowel. Semi-vowels are sounds that are like vowel sounds. That is why they are called semi-vowel, because there is no obstruction. There is no obstruction by the organs of speech, however, but it is partial. It's a partial obstruction, and so it shares quality with the vowel sounds and the consonant sounds, and that is why it's called semi-vowel. We have y and w. okay? Because the obstruction is not complete, is not a total closure, it's just a partial closure, and so it is referred to as a semi-vowel. The next is nasal. Nasal sounds are produced from the nose, okay? So the uvula blocks the oral passage and air escapes through the nose, and that is why it is called the nasal sounds, okay? So these are the 6 manner of articulation we can have, and we can see the grouping, and you can see each of the sounds that fall under each manner of articulation. Now let's move to the next classification. Okay, so the next classification is the place of articulation. The place of articulation is where in the mouth. Where in the mouth does this sound occur? Okay, at what point in your mouth is this sound produced or pronounced? Okay, so the first one is bilabial. Bilabial uses the lip, the 2 lip, the upper lip and the lower part of your lip. The upper lip and the lower lip, okay, that's why it's called bilabial. And you can see the classification, we have 4 sounds under the bilabial. So the upper lip and the lower lip is involved in this production, okay? That is the point, that is the place where the sound is produced, okay? So the next one is alveolar. Alveolar. Now alveolar uses the front part of your tongue and the alveolar ridge, okay? So you can feel your alveolar ridge with your tongue by just raising your tongue to touch the upper part of your teeth and then just go down. You can feel that ridge. It is called alveolar ridge or the tooth ridge or the teeth ridge, okay? So that's the alveolar, okay, or the alveolar ridge. So you have the front part of your tongue touching that part, like as in d, okay? You can feel it. Now the next is velar. Okay, so velar uses the velum and the back part of your tongue. The velum is also called the soft palate. Okay, velum is also called soft palate. So register that, check the organs of speech which I have showed you, and try to locate the soft palate. Okay, so it uses the back part of the tongue and it is raised to touch the soft palate, like g. Okay. Okay, next is palatal. Now palatal uses the front part of the tongue and the hard palate. Okay, so we have the soft palate and we all have the hard palate, all of which make up the roof of the mouth. Okay, so it uses the front part of the tongue and the hard palate, as in here, here. Okay, the next is dental, and as you can see, we just have only 1 sound under the palatal. Okay, the next is dental. Dental uses the tip of your tongue touches the upper part of your teeth. Okay, dental, the tip of the tongue and the upper part of your teeth, the upper teeth. The next is labiodental. Labiodental uses the lip and the teeth. Okay, so that involves the upper part of your teeth and your lower lip, as in. So it uses the upper part of your teeth and your lower lip. Okay? The next is palatal alveolar. Palatal alveolar uses the side of your tongue against your hard palate and alveolar ridge also. Okay? So it involves 3 articulators. Okay? 3 organs of speech. So we have sh, ch. Okay? Glottal is the last, and it is produced from the glottis itself. Okay, the glottis, it involves the roof of your tongue, so it's something that you cannot feel, but you can actually make the sound from within. Okay, so we've come to the end of this part. I've created a longer version for this video that will cover up the rest of today's objectives. So please, I would advise that you get this longer version. All you need to do is you click on the link in the description below, which takes you to the My School website. There you'll be required to subscribe. Please go ahead and subscribe so you can enjoy the rest of today's lesson. Thank you for joining us once again. Do not forget to hit the like button, click on the subscribe button, and lastly, tap on the bell notification to get informed as soon as we release the next videos.